All right, so we are now live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch at Extreme 104 SVG. So you can hop over there. All right, if you're listening and you have to move out of your car or somewhere, you can always continue listening to us online. Just making sure. All of a sudden, I feel like I'm hearing myself twice. All right, so everything is good? All right, perfect. Okay, so when we last left off, hold a second. Okay, that's better. That's it. Thank you. All right, so I'll share your question at the end of this segment here because we don't have much time left with Luke. He's a very busy man. He has a lot of things to do, so he's gonna have to go in a few minutes, right? But when we left, we were talking about your academic accomplishments, you being called to the bar in the UK, and I would expect that that's going to happen here in St. Vincent and Grenadines. Do you know when that is gonna come? Or?
Well, the date for my call to the bar here in St. Vincent is being finalized. Unfortunately, the court was on vacation for the month of August, so it wasn't possible to be organized.
Need some time. You know?
They need some time to recover from the caseload. So I'm in touch with the office, the registrar's office, and as soon as I have a date, then we would be able to make arrangements to get that formal process out of the way here in St. Vincent. So I'm looking forward to being able to say that I'm a lawyer in this jurisdiction as well.
Okay, nice. Congratulations in advance. All right. Does that mean that you're gonna start your private practice after that, or what are you gonna do? What's your plan after?
Well, I'm actually working out of my dad's law office right now. There's a period of internship in service training that's taking place, and beginning to get a sense of the ropes of the practice, because even though you've studied abroad and you're familiar with how things might be done in the UK, when it's time for you to actually apply that knowledge to the local reality, it's a whole new learning process. I think that one of the things which is important for anyone, and I am learning this lesson on you now, is that you should always take a humble approach to learning, because there is always so much more out there for you to learn, and sometimes it could be overwhelming at the start. You're accustomed, you were in a field before where you are able to maneuver your way through all the problems that presented themselves to you because you're very familiar with the territory, and all of a sudden you are in a new environment, so to speak, from a professional standpoint, and you have to research particular points before you could pronounce on them definitively. So it takes some time. It's important not to be in too much of a rush and to trust the process. I think it's also very beneficial that I have essentially a mentor in the profession, in my dad and other persons who I consult from time to time, because that is making the journey a whole lot easier.
That's good. So that is good.
So, I definitely appreciate that. So coming soon, the call to the bar in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Hey. So lawyers champion quite a number of initiatives. When I say that, my mind goes to persons like Zita Barnwell, Jomo Thomas. Is there anything in particular, any injustice that you see? I know from your posts on social media, I stumbled upon posts talking about injustices in the insurance sector. You've also made reference to integrity, more so Boris Johnson no longer being the head of the UK. Is there anything in particular that you think you want to champion? Any injustices you see across SVG?
Well, there are quite a few areas. You mentioned insurance. I think it's important that we have a very important regime for the regulation of insurance companies, given the fact that they touch and concern many vital and fundamental areas of Vincentian life, from simple matters related to accidents, to matters concerning damage to property as a result of extreme weather events, and the realm or the ambit of insurance is so really vast that a system of effective regulations, especially the realm is vast, and there are inherent risks in the industry which merit, a rigorous approach to their regulation and oversight. Apart from that, I'd say that one of the areas in which I have an interest, and this interest developed during the course of my studies as well, is on the matter of personal injury law. Because first of all, it appealed to me in a special way because personal injury basically brings together two of my passions, I would say, from an academic standpoint. There's a lot of mathematics and computation in it, and there's a lot of law, surrounding this matter. But I've seen several instances of personal injury which tell me that, look, it's necessary for somebody to apply their mind in a conscientious and committed way to this aspect of law. For instance, be it the case of the wall which fell down at the distillery in Georgetown and killed persons, be it a case where somebody suffers personal injury as a result of an accident or some other event, whatever the case might be it a case where somebody in the course of their job perhaps falls off a scaffolding and dies, be it even a case where an individual who might be simply cutting a tree, again, in the course of employment, suffers damage. There's a wide universe, and I tend to think of things which affect the body of an individual and their horizons for the future as being very fundamental. So you had a case recently, this was just decided, where a corn vendor in Stubbs was killed in an accident, and there was an award in that recent case.
Right.
I take a great and active interest in these areas. I've also seen it cropping up in our practice, and I want to make sure that in this type of situation, justice is served. Justice is delivered.
As you mentioned that, my mind went back to that incident that happened in Georgetown with the wall falling and loss of life. A part of that is legislation. The Occupational Safety and Health Act has been an act since, if I recall correctly, 2017. It has not been passed to law. Don't you see yourself going against the government at some point?
No, well, I mean, and the truth is, there would always be tensions that have to play themselves out if you're going to bring about the change which is necessary and desirable in society. I don't think in the case that we are citing here that there is anything from the standpoint of the legal regime which prevents families and beneficiaries of estates from pursuing justice.
But in terms of empowerment of the individuals who are working, part of the personal injury might happen at work if there's nothing in place legally to protect that individual.
Well, there's a legal.
I see that part of your fight.
So there's occupational health and safety, but there is in place already the general law. So there is a law of, for instance, occupier's liability, which is basically the occupier being the person who owns a premises on which somebody goes and suffers damage. So we already have that law, and we actually have a compensation. I think it's called Fatal Accidents Act, under which matters or cases could be brought right now. So there's nothing really preventing individuals from accessing justice. I say this.
But wouldn't it be easier if that act was passed to law?
Well, it might have some implications for how you go about resolving or regulating activities at the workplace, but I don't think it is in any way, the current setup in any way hampers somebody who knows their rights and who is interested in pursuing those rights.
Okay. All right. So, as you mentioned, injustices, for some time, the issue of the teachers being hired, rehired, reinstated. I know that there is a lot of terminology involved there. Could you shed your 2 cents on that? Do you think that this is a place at this point, because the teachers union, they're going to have a march, I believe it is tomorrow. What are your views on that issue?
Well, you may know that very early on, I think it was probably in early April, I don't know if it was May or thereabouts, I made a post on Facebook in which I said that I believe that my government will come around to the position of accommodating the re-engagement of the persons who were deemed to have abandoned their posts because of a non-compliance with the vaccine mandate. I said that very early on, and I said it in a way that wasn't critical of the policy which was imposed by the government at the time when it was imposed. I think that the government used its best judgment of all the circumstances when it imposed that policy. And I'd also say that the government has the authority to impose such a policy on the basis of existing laws. What you always have to maybe use as a judgment call is your sense of whether or not something is necessary and proportionate and desirable in all the circumstances. Now, the situation has evolved. And it has evolved to the point where a decision that was taken in good faith and with the best interest of the public health of our country in mind is being reviewed. You know, and this is not something which is so alien to organized society. Very often decisions which are taken by governments or by individuals, by companies, have to be or are renewed in the light of new information. And before we were tending in this direction, before it was clear that the government would actually bring about this policy, you might say that I saw down the road and said that, look, this thing is evolving and it may be revisited, and I'm looking at the possibility of these teachers, these public servants being re-engaged, and it's coming to pass. And I hope that it is resolved in the best way possible, considering the interests of all parties. So we would see how things play out in that front.
Would you encourage the teachers? The Prime Minister said earlier this week that out of 200 spaces, only 55 teachers. Would you encourage the remaining teachers to apply?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that there's anything procedurally incorrect or onerous about a reapplication requirement, because truth be told, there may be some teachers teachers or public servants in general who might not want to reapply or who might not want to be re-engaged in the service. So it's just a case of you seeking out an expression of interest on their part on what they intend to do in the future. I mean, I think that one of the things that we should probably accommodate our minds to is the fact that some persons at a particular moment in their career might want a career shift. They might think that they are boxed in for some reason to a particular career.
Are you calling it a blessing in disguise?
Pardon? I'm not saying it's a blessing in disguise. I mean, but I'm making the point that there could be persons who are no longer working with the government as a result of the mandate, and who have found other jobs in which they are comfortable, who have found other passions. The only way in which the government is able to sift through that possibility is by having a procedure for reapplication, I would say.
Okay, all right. Now at this time, I can't believe the time has gone so fast. It is now 6 minutes onto 9 o'clock.
Right.
We will get interactive at this time, so the lines are open. You can call us at 457-1043, or you can send a WhatsApp question via WhatsApp, that is. Now, let me read what is already here. So there are two questions, right? The first one, right? The person is asking, are you planning to get back in politics? And if the answer is yes, why would you want to? It's such a dirty game and next to impossible to be or remain clean or keep your self-worth.
Well, the truth is, I'm not sure that I ever left politics.
Active politics, like running for a constituency. I think people were a bit confused as whether or not you're in or out. Not necessarily within the Unity Labour Party, but are you on the podium or not?
I don't want people to be confused, and I don't want. I want to start by making the point that it has never been my approach to allow a political outcome to affect my desire to execute and implement a vision for a constituency and a country. I see the political involvement as being useful because it gives you the opportunity to touch and make a profound impact on many lives. Of course, you're able to make an impact on lives outside of politics as well. But I'm thinking about the way in which you could have the most far-reaching effect on the development of your country. So I have been involved with it from that standpoint. I've been involved with it because I think that I could make a difference for persons. When I was over the course of my political career to date, for instance, and this reminds me of something which needs to be done right now again. I remember making a fundamental contribution to the improvement in the performance of students in CPEA at a particular school in the constituency. And I always think to myself, look, what would have been the fate of these students if they didn't have representation? I remember getting involved in different projects. For instance, we transformed what was a dump site at Roseau into a beautiful garden, the best lit garden in the Christmas light up competition. I'm also involved in many other projects, including the Luke's Kids Club summer program over the years. I said to myself,
That's still going on?
Yeah, of course, that's still going on. In fact, we are preparing for this year's edition of it. We're starting it a little bit later than usual.
But almost open next week, you know?
The school we still have some time to go before the resumption of school. So I see this as being the most effective way of serving my nation and of serving people. So I'm still, I would say, in the political arena, doing the work in the constituency, and I'm sure I'd have my opportunity to get involved fully down the road.
And the second question: how can you be part of a party and government with this Prime Minister, a man who is showing that he's incapable of letting go of power, and even worse, wants and intends to hand down the reins to his son? I'm a proud ULP supporter who will never vote for NDP, but once you support or follow this PM, you will end up throwing your morals out of the door, just like all their representatives who have no spine or courage to stand up for what's right or against what's wrong, like even Minister Caesar, who I also hear good things about. Why would you want to be a part of all of this to put your character through this?
That's
a heavy question.
That's quite a lot packed into the question there. I mean, I don't think that we should pronounce definitively on the nature and character of the leadership of the Prime Minister in that way. I, in fact, think that the Prime Minister is an extraordinary leader, and he has done a great deal of good for St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Naturally, the question of succession and the mechanism for succession arises. I also believe that in the circumstances it's important for the party, for our party, to have an open and transparent and fair procedure that inspires public confidence and that is not necessarily removed from internal democracy, that by which you elect successors. I mean, we might draw illustrations of this from maybe the United States of America. They have a procedure by which they appoint or elect successors, and there's a process which is specified or laid out in the Constitution of the Unity Labour Party, and I'm sure that it will be followed, and I'm sure that it will give up results which are in the best interest of the party, democracy, and our forward movement in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
All right, so let's take a call. All right, we've lost that caller. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi,
Hello?
if you can just ask the question and then he will respond after, right?
Two questions. Your studies in the UK, have you finished with your studies in the UK, or are you just taking a break from the studies in the UK?
Yeah, I'm actually finished with my studies in the UK. I don't know if you were able to listen to the first part of the program.
No.
But I finished my studies. I've completed the bar with distinction. I was already called to the bar in the United Kingdom, and I'm just waiting to be called to the bar in St. Vincent and the Grenadines right now.
Congratulations.
All right, your second question now?
Second question. Now you're under 40, so you have that's a good thing you got going for you. You have time on your side. Do you see yourself going like a snaggy 6 in a row? Snaggy from the Grenadines. 6 in a row? You have 3 in a row so far. Could you see yourself going 6 in a row like Snaggy? Because you have time. You're young.
All right, thank you so much, caller. He'll answer now. All right, you listen off here.
I'll see what the Lord has in store for me. My thing is, I've always kept in mind the need for me to focus on the things that are in my control, and there's a call for us to be faithful. I'll be faithful with my service to the people of East Kingstown and the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and I'd see what doors the Lord might open for me. So that's how I would respond.
Are you gonna run again?
If it be the will of the Lord.
So that's like a no, right? That's like a I don't really want to.
No. That's not like a no. I've already expressed in very clear terms my commitment to the political process and to serving the people in the constituency.
So only if they call you, like the people in the constituency call you.
Well,
we'll go back.
I think it's very important for a politician never to be out of step with the people. One of the things that the caller alluded to is the fact that I'm still under 40 right now, and that is very strange for some people to believe. Some people think that, for instance, even persons from Sign Hill, just this year, I got a couple calls from individuals who were interested in finding out if I was interested in playing Masters cricket for Sign Hill this year. I told them, well, I don't satisfy the age qualification requirement.
What's the age qualification for Masters cricket?
Because you have to be over 40 to be eligible for Masters cricket.
Okay.
So I told them I'm still a fair way away from that point. But the truth is, I think that I am well poised to continue with my work for the country, for the development of St. Vincent and the Grenadines in whatever way. I have a passion for public education. As you might know, I mean, ever since I left the UE, I started my first lecture series, then the Behold the Man lecture series. I've done other projects along a similar nature. I've done a project on entrepreneurs of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I did
that book.
And we have that book. We have I did the O.C. Ford Memorial Lecture Series as well at one point in time. I've done different lectures because on different topics that I think were useful for the benefit of the nation. We've started recently with another round, I would say, of presentations on topics of interest. Mm-hmm. We did inflation, recently.
Yeah.
There are other topics on our agenda. For instance, SVG's response to climate change, the case for reparations. There are many things that have been flooding our minds.
National heroes,
and you mentioned national heroes. I'm happy that we have come to the point where it seems as if there's going to be some form of action on national heroes. Well,
But wasn't that the proclamation by the Prime Minister that
Well, he has said that
I
don't think that the decision has been made, and what I really look forward to is the decision on national heroes, and I especially support Dr. J.P. Eustace as being named a national hero of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I think, I tend to describe him as the father of the education revolution, because what he did really boggles the mind, starting as a 20-year-old who opened a school instead of thinking about looking for a job, instead of thinking about going off to university, instead of doing some other things. Mm-hmm. His first order of priority after leaving school was to open a school for the further education of persons as a 20-year-old. He went on to establish the Emmanuel High Schools, which at one point in time were the largest secondary schools in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. That is a remarkable record, and to say nothing of his exploits as an eye specialist in this country as well. And let me just use this opportunity
He had vision, though.
He had great vision. So his choice of career was perhaps symbolic. Let me use this opportunity to extend my condolences to the Eustace family as well. Doc's only child and daughter, Grace. She died on the 3rd of August. Her funeral will take place tomorrow at the Hebron Gospel Chapel in Marquardt, and she would be interred in Myro, which was a part of the Eustace family estate. Miss Eustace herself was a stalwart in education, and I think she has a special place in the annals of Vincentian history as one of our greatest women and servants of God.
Okay, so let's take another call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. First of all, I want to say congratulations, Luke Browne, for your accomplishment at such a young age. That doesn't include to accomplish what you accomplish in a whole lifetime, in a whole couple generations. So I want to say congratulations from a Vincention to another Vincention. Now, you mentioned you're educating people as far as entrepreneurs. And you being a lawyer, do you see yourself in the future engulfing yourself in negotiating with these foreign companies who come to St. Vincent to do business? Because in my opinion, some of these businesses get the sweet end of the deal and Vincentians are left with not so sweet end of the deal. And with a man with your education background and your passion for St. Vincent, I would like to see you, this is my opinion, I would like to see you engulf yourself in negotiating with these companies that come to St. Vincent to get our resources, because they're not here because they have what we want. They're here because we have what they need to be successful. I'll listen after.
All right, thank you, Max.
Thank you very much for that contribution, and definitely I'm not restricting myself to any particular area. If there's a need for negotiations and interaction with foreign businesses and companies to make sure that we could iron out arrangements that are in our best interest, then definitely I'll be part of that equation. And it brings me back, because these things tend to tie in so much with other areas of our work. It brings me back to something I said earlier. Remember I said that when you talk about national liberation, you talk about political independence and you talk about economic dependence as well. And I see that in some ways, a country can become subservient to multinational corporations and foreign enterprises. It plays out very often in the realm of oil. You might know that the American interests had a great stake in Venezuelan oil, and then that ultimately evolved to a situation where there was a great dispute. I won't get into the details here right now, but it's definitely critical that the government retains a stake or control in the commanding heights of the economy and is able to negotiate effective arrangements with any entity or enterprise that wants to come to St. Vincent and the Grenadines to do business in the interest of all stakeholders. But so I made the point that we have a plan on how I can continue, how could I go about the public education function, how I could continue with our political engagement in and outside of the constituency. I think I am well poised. The Lord has given me good opportunities for education. I'm well poised in the sense that I already have effectively about 10 years of experience in government. An economist, I'm a mathematician, I am a lawyer. I am passionate about what I'm doing, and I'm going to pursue relentlessly a vision for development in this country.
Lovely. Where do you find time for all of these things, Luke?
Well,
what is your secret? Do you have like an extra day or an extra person? What is it? What is it?
I could tell you I've been feeling the need to have some extra days of late, because the truth is
there are no gray hairs.
You're probably not looking close enough. But
I ain't seeing them from over here.
They might want to be one.
So you're not
today.
stressed.
No, I mean, first of all, I keep up a very serious regimen of exercise and physical activity.
You're one of the few politicians who have not put on weight.
I run a lot. I exercise, mainly home-based workouts and so on, because I want to keep fit. I want to be able to do the distance, with the people. And you have to figure out your balance. For instance, very often I'm up by 4 o'clock in the morning. I do my work, and sometimes, depending on how much there is to be done, I get up earlier than that as well. So you just have to stick to the regime, the routine, and trust that the work that you put in is going to be rewarded. Every time you feel as if, well, boy, you're working so hard and you might necessarily see the results immediately, I think of the champions in our world. I think of Muhammad Ali, who would say to himself when he was training, and when he said he didn't like training, but he said to himself when he was training, suffer now to live the rest of your life as a champion. And I think about Rafael Nadal, my favorite tennis player as well, who says that he subjects himself to the rigor of training and practice and everything for what he described as his moments of glory, for the moments of being able to express himself and leave his mark on the world. I'm hoping that I'd have the opportunity to leave an indelible mark on the landscape of St. Vincent and the Grenadines in many different capacities.
All right, so the final call. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Yes, hello, good morning.
Hey, morning.
Yeah, well, I need no introduction to Luke, but I just took this opportunity, I let me take this opportunity to publicly commend him, congratulate him on all his achievements, and to know that he will soon be called to the bar here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I know he comes from good stock, a special mold, multi-talented, versatile. I don't know, well, I know his cricket has gone out doing a long time ago. He used to be a very, a lot of people thought he might have been a good candidate for West Indies cricket, but maybe the good thing he didn't get involved, because at this stage he had to be performing real good. I mean, to keep the West Indies reputation going. But be that as it may, I am happy for him. I just hope in the political realm of life and so on, he makes the right choices. I mean, we don't see things. We may not see things the same along, where the political lens are concerned. But whatever he does, I want to wish him well and to hope that he does it in the interest of the nation. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Dave. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Brother Roberts. Thank you for your consistent photography and your consistent comments in public forums. I remember us being together at the recent reparations public lecture that was organized by the University of the West Indies, and you never fail to make your intervention in those settings. I appreciate your sentiments, and definitely we have to be motivated principally by what is in the interest of our nation, and find a way to contribute to the furtherance of those interests.
All right. Permit me. It's 9:13. Permit me to ask one final question. This is in reference to a post you made on July 8th, and I'm going to read it. The lesson from Boris Johnson's resignation is that no man is above the law or beyond the reach of the popular forces of democracy in a country. He came to office less than 3 years ago on a wave of political euphoria that may have had a lot to do with his decisiveness on issues including Brexit at a time when it seemed as if the UK government could not get anything done. He is now set to demit office due to a series of scandals that he was attempting to bluster his way through. The original sin was Partygate. We have been reminded of the importance of integrity in public life. But let me bring that back home to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Do you think that when you look at the politicians, and I'm speaking both ULP, NDP, the Green Party, and any other party, right? Do you think that that's something that our politicians, Vincentian politicians, hold to a high standard, integrity?
Well, I think first of all, it's the Vincentian public that has to give priority to integrity in public life. And there's a whole story behind my fascination with integrity. It dates back to a gentleman. It was really driven home to me in the first instance by a gentleman by the name of Lambert Lindley, who was a builder from Roseau and who also attended the same church that I attend, Streams of Power in Sign Hill. And he put it this way. He said, integrity is the top law. And coming from a builder, you could see why he may have been motivated to say that, because when you put in a structure together, unless there's integrity in the way in which you mix the cement, or in the way in which you run the blocks, the way in which you go about the construction in general, you would be setting up that building for disaster, or not being able to withstand the forces that may come against it. You might have integrity, so you need integrity in terms of your own principles, what you stand for, and there needs to be a certain consistency. So when there's consistency in principle, there will be that integrity which is necessary and desirable, and it finds expression in many different places. But as a politician myself, I put a lot of emphasis on it, and I think that we need to continue. We need to see it as a very important concept in local politics.
Do you think that there should be a separation between private life and public office?
Well, I
As
think
in, if you do something wrong in private and it gets out into the public, do we still talk about integrity there?
well, the truth is, somebody who is a public officer is if something that an individual does is insightful on the kind of individual they may be in public life, then it may be valid for you to take that into consideration when you are making a decision about that person. But generally speaking, you should also have space or give space to privacy. And I think once we find the right balance, we would be okay. The lesson
You
from
think we have found the right balance? Because for the past couple of years, quite a few of the ULP politicians have been riddled with scandal. And we see the response from the general public.
Well, I'm not sure the specific instances that you're talking about, but I would say that we just need to put emphasis and priority on integrity in all that we do. But in relation to Boris Johnson, what I would say as well related to that course, and you would realize that I lived through what was taking place in England with the leadership of Boris Johnson.
Right.
I saw how it unfolded and so on. And I know, as I mentioned in the post there, that he came to power riding a wave of popularity, a wave of euphoria. We have a decisive leader. We had a man who was going to help us solve a long-standing political impasse that was associated with Brexit, when there was a lot of dithering in government and there was no, after David Cameron, there wasn't the clear sense that somebody will come around that could deliver. Brexit. Boris filled that void and he became popular. He led the Conservative Party to a very famous victory and overwhelming victory. And he had the idea that he could in office for a long period of time, but less than 3 years later, he was under scrutiny for the way in which, principally, this is where it started, the way in which he conducted the affairs of the office of the Prime Minister during the COVID-19 pandemic and during lockdown and so on. So you see that's where we must learn a lesson. Fate and fortune in politics is not fixed, and if we don't hold ourselves up to the highest standards, then our today could be very different from our tomorrow. And I think those are important considerations for us.
All right. So with that, we're going to wrap things up. Thank you so much for taking the time out. I know we went a little over time with what you had initially agreed to. And I just want to say I'm really grateful for your time. You're an extremely busy man. I want to wish you all the best in your future endeavors. Don't be a stranger. I know you're not a stranger to Extreme. I mean, you said it first that you're very comfortable here.
Yeah, man, I'm comfortable here.
Appreciate that, man. So any final thoughts, any last words you want to share with the public?
Just to thank you for having me. You said that that I'm extremely busy. So if I'm extremely busy, I should be on Extreme.
Good point.
But it's good to have this opportunity for engagement with the public, and I'd like to thank everybody who has been supporting me and who, including during the period of time when we were where we can. I mean, the truth is, a lot of the work that is done at the level of the constituency and a lot of the work of our organizations wouldn't be possible without a very strong network of people in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So I appreciate them, and I will continue working for the people of this country.
All right. Lovely. Thank you so much. Have a good one.